القرآن فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران لا أدري أفي سحل هو أم في جبل أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك اللهم فصل على محمد وآله واجعل يا ربي رزقك لي واسعا ومطلبه سهلا ومأخذه قريبا ولا تعنني بطلبي ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك فصل على محمد وآله وجد على عبدك بفضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام على رسول الله خير خلق الله البشير النذير السراج المنير ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام على فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام على الحسن والحسين سبطي نبي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمامي ويا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل مخرجك وأوسع منهجك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك ومن مقوية سلطانك ومن المستشهدين بين يديك. صلى الله تعالى عليك وعلى آبائك الطيبين الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Assalamu alaikum everyone. So I would need to ask the sisters to please clear the first two rows so we can pull back the curtains so we can have a better view on the camera. So please, the first two rows on the ladies' side. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you all for attending this occasion and this majlis. And first of all, we would like to start with some Quran recitation with Brother Abdulrahim. So let's please invite him with a loud salawat. That's fine. Should we put it here? Maybe.
That's okay.
They need to unmute the TV. They need to unmute the TV. Is that good?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والطور وكتاب مسطور في رق منشور والبيت المعمور والسقف المرفوع والبحر المسجور إن عذاب ربك لواقع ما له من دافع يوم تمور السماء مورا وتسير الجبال سيرا فويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين هم في خوض يلعبون يوم يدعون إلى نار جهنم دعا هذه النار التي كنتم بها تكذبون أفسحر هذا أم أنتم لا تبصرون اصلوها فاصبروا أو لا تصبروا سواء عليكم إنما تجزون ما كنتم تعملون إن المتقين في جنات ونعيم فاكهين بما آتاهم ربهم ووقاهم ربهم عذاب الجحيم كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما كنتم تعملون متكئين على سرر مصفوفة وزوجناهم بحور عين والذين آمنوا واتبعتهم ذريتهم بإيمان ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم وما ألتناهم من عملهم من شيء كل امرئ بما كسب رهين وأمددناهم بفاكهة ولحم مما يشتهون يتنازعون فيها كأسا لا لغو فيها ولا تأثيم ويطوف عليهم غلمان لهم كأنهم لؤلؤ مكنون وأقبل بعضهم على بعض يتساءلون قالوا إنا كنا قبل في أهلنا مشفقين فمن الله علينا ووقانا عذاب السموم إنا كنا من قبل ندعوه إنه هو البر الرحيم فذكر فما أنت بنعمة ربك بكاهن ولا مجنون أم يقولون شاعر نتربص به ريب المنون قل تربصوا فإني معكم من المتربصين صدق الله العلي العظيم.
After this beautiful recitation, I would like to invite now Brother Gulfraz to recite some some poetry in Urdu. So yeah, let's please invite him with a loud salawat.
Salawat. کہاں جائے آخر بیاباں ہے ہر سو شکستہ ہے پہلو اکیلی ہے زارا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا در فاطمہ کو چلایا ہے تم نے کیا وعدہ اپنا نبھایا ہے تم نے تماچے نہ مارو مسلمان جاؤ علی کو بلاؤ اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا بیاں کس سے جا کر کروں درد اپنا ہے غیروں کی دنیا نہیں کوئی اپنا کوئی جا کے بابا سے جا کر یہ کہہ دو کہ لے جاؤ آ کر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا اے لخت جگر اے حسن ابن حیدر یہ نانا کا پہلو میں سونے نہ دے کر تم آ جانا پہلو میں سو جانا ماں کے بکی میں یہاں پر اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا شاہ کربلا نے کہا رو کے ماں سے یہ مظلوم بیٹے نے مظلوم ماں سے اکیلا ہوں میں بھی اکیلی ہے زینب اکیلے ہیں بابا اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا سر مرگ خطر ہے زہرا کا نوحہ کب آؤ گے مہدی کب آؤ گے بیٹا خدا کے لیے اب یہ پردہ ہٹاؤ چلے آؤ آؤ اکیلی ہے زہرا رونے پہ پہرا مصائب کا صحرا اکیلی ہے زہرا صلوات الفاتحہ
Up, we have Brother Wajahat for some poetry also. So let's please invite him with a loud salawat.
خوشنودی امام زمانہ بلندتر صلوات. یا زہرا 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 اے میری بیوی اے میری بیوی تیرے در پہ استغاثہ ہے تیرا ممنون میری شہزادی جہاں سارا ہے یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا تو ہمیں حس اور عما دے دے اپنی چادر کا صاحبہ دے دے تیری قدرت میں میری بیوی تجھ سے چاہے دو جہاں دے دے یا زہرا یا زہرا اے میری بیوی اے میری بیوی آنسوؤں میں دعا مانگی ہے تیری تسبیح ہی پڑھ کے دل نے تجھے پکارا ہے یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا یا زہرا قرض مقروض کا ادا کر دے قرض مقروض کا ادا کر دے مفلسوں کا نصیب وا کر دے جن کی گودی بھری نہیں بیوی تو نے اولاد عطا کر دے یا زہرا یا زہرا اے میری بیوی اے میری بیوی تو ہی مراد دیتی ہے تیری چوکھٹ در الہی کا استعارہ ہے یا زہرا یا زہرا فرض مومن سے غم جدا کر دے بس غم کر بالا عطا کر دے بے خطا قید میں ہے جو مومن معجزے سے انہیں رہا کر دے یا زہرا یا زہرا ان شہیدوں کا یہ مقدر ہے صاحبہ ان کا تیری چادر ہے ان کے سینوں پہ اے میری بیوی داغ ماتم نشان حیدر ہے یا زہرا یا زہرا मजलिस गम में अश्क बरसाने आ सके या नहीं खुदा जाने। क्या भरोसा हमारी सांसों का, अब कहाँ हम कहाँ अज़ा खाने। या ज़ाहरा या ज़ाहरा, तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है, मगे मोहसिन पे भी रुलाया है। तुझको बाबा के बाद उम्मत ने हाय दरबार में बुलाया है। या ज़ाहरा या ज़ाहरा, ऐ मेरी बीबी, ऐ मेरी बीबी, तेरे दर पे सर झुकाते हैं। हर हुसैनी का तेरा टुकड़ों पे ही गुजारा है। सल्लल्लाहु अला मुहम्मद।
MashaAllah. So as we gather on this tragic occasion of the Shahada of Sayyida Fatimah Zahra alayhi salam, we remember the daughter of the Prophet, the mother of the Imams and the lady of the women of the worlds. She is the light of the Ahlul Bayt, oppressed in her time, yet honored by Allah and His Messenger. Finally, we have Arabic poetry with Brother Muhammad Hinnawi. So let's also invite him with a loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum. The translation should be up in a second. It was all done super quick, so excuse us if there's any mistakes in the translation. As you know, one of the major narrations of the incident of Sayyidah Fatima describes how the attack on her house occurred, and it shows details. And one of the methods of the attack per the narration is the whip, using the whip, which is siyat in Arabic. And the poet in this poem tries to describe the discussion among the whips, among the siyat. So صوت مع صوت يحكي اضربها حتى تبكي. أمر عليكم حديث السياط لقد قطعت في الهجوم نياطي ولفت جنيني مثل القماط فلم ترع لي بالنبي ارتباطي. كم نادى صوت الظالم من مثلي يوجع فاطم. أسقطت إذ أسقطوني والله لم يرحموني. وقفت لدى الباب كالدرع حائل. وقفت لدى الباب كالدرع حائل. أحامي الغدير بضلعي أقاتل. أحامي الغدير بضلعي أقاتل. فأرعد صوت وردد قائل لتفتح جد بلسع الأنامل. فأصابع أزكى زهرة لسعت بسياط 10 ناشدتهم اتركوني والله لم يرحموني. تقدم صوت إلي لصدي وفي وجهه لاح عمرو بن ودي. إلى الثار قام يراني لوحدي فجرح جنبي ذراعي وخدي. ودنا مرحب مسرورا ينكز ضلعي المكسورة. ضربي بكل الفنون والله لم يرحموني. وصوت توثب دون حريجة له ظل أفعى بحزني بهيجة. تقول اصفعوها وعندي النتيجة. تقول اصفعوها وعندي النتيجة. بموت البتول حتما تموت خديجة. حسد يتفرع عنها فأعوذ بربي منها. خوانة من خؤوني والله لم يرحموني. أنا الضوء لم يرحمني صوت عتمة، ورحمة ربي لم ألق رحمة. أشار الكفور اقرعوها بنقمة. إذا قتل الأئمة 12 الأطهار، فيهم نبت المسمار. وإذ قيل هذه حبيبة أحمد، تجبر صوت وسب محمد. لقد كان صوتا من الحقد أسود، من قلب أسود زندي سود. للقنفذ صوت قاسي، منه اختنقت أنفاسي. كم استضعفوني والله لم يرحموني. ولم أنس صوتا لئيما عتيا. دعا أرجعوها جررنا عليا، فصبت سياط غلاظ علي. وفي لذعها أحرقت منكبي. أجابتهم الزهراء كلا لن أرجع، كلا إلا بعلي، كلا لن أرجع، كلا إلا بعلي. إلا من بغضهم ورموني. تبسم صوت علي تقلب، تبسم صوت علي تقلب. يقول وفي عينه النار تلهب. كما اليوم متنك يدمى ويضرب. أنا في الطفوف سأضرب زينب. سأصيب العين الحوراء كي تصبح عينا حمراء. قد أشبهت لي عيوني والله لم يرحموني. صلى الله على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad, for amazing poetry as always. So tonight we are honored to welcome Sheikh Faheem Abdulghani, a scholar of Middle East history and political science with over 14 years of seminary training. He joins us from Houston, where he teaches and serves the community at Masjid al-Rasul and the Islamic Education Center, IEC. And with 3 loud salawats, let's please welcome him to the minbar. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وآل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وضرب الله مثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون إذ قالت رب ابني لي عندك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون وعمله ونجني من القوم الظالمين. ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحسنت فرجها فنفخت فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. And Allah has cited for the believers the example of the wife of Fir'aun when she said, "My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise and deliver me from Fir'aun and his deeds and deliver me from the unjust people." And the Maryam, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, so we breathed into her our and she testified to the truth of the words of her Lord in his books, and she was one of the devout. Please give another salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We are here today on the sad occasion of the shahadat of Lady Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet, the mother of the Imams, and a true blessing for the entire world. The verses that we just recited are very good in capturing the essence of what Allah likes to see from His servants. One of the things that we have, the blessings of Islam, and one of the miracles of Islam, is that in Islam we have the exalted position of women in Islam. That Allah puts everything in its proper place. So there is an extremely high and exalted position of women in Islam, which is going against many of the other religions and the beliefs that people had at the time. And what makes this such a miracle is this is not at a time where there was some sort of political benefit or some sort of ramifications, other than that this was simply a truth that Allah wanted to be made manifest. At the time of the Prophet, the people, when a daughter would be born to them, would become very angry. It was a shame. In these sorts of societies where there is not really law and order and things like this, and the society is very stressed, then women become a liability to these tribes. How so? And we also see this in the Arabs, that one of the ways they would try to hurt each other was by refusing to marry the daughters of one another, because they said that they are a drain on your economy. They're not bringing in wealth, and they're costing you wealth. They're costing you your money, because you have to feed and take care of these girls, but they're not doing business, they're not traveling, they're not doing anything, they're not fighting in wars, they're not doing all of these things, and they're just costing you money. And so it was thought to the people at this time that this was a bad thing. Why should we have girls? What use are they? And Islam at this time was saying that we have created as an example to all of mankind, not just all of the worlds, an example of religiosity, of what we want from everybody. And he gave the two examples of the wife of Fir'aun, and he gave the example of Maryam, Hazrat Maryam. And of course, Hazrat Zahra is better than the two of them. Please give salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is at a time where the people used to become so angry. Sometimes they would keep the daughter and just be ashamed. You're less of a man because you're having a lot of daughters. Or they would be so upset that they would kill their daughters. The reason that they would do this was they said that if we have daughters, let's say, and we're in an area there's no government, maybe we fight in a war and we lose the war. And then our daughters will become captured and they'll have children with the enemy tribe. So this is bad for us and good for them. So we just shouldn't even have any of them. So not everybody did this, but it was a thing, especially if there was too many daughters. So, sometimes you have one family and he has a boy and 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 a boy. Most of the times it's a couple of boys, a couple of girls. That's normal. But sometimes you have rack up maybe one person he has 10 daughters. One person he has 10 sons. So this is just how Allah has decided. Most people are mixed. There's a couple of daughters, a couple of boys. Some are mostly girls and then one or two boys. We don't know. Allah gives what He wants. So a person says, oh my God, I'm having too many daughters. Sometimes they say, you know what, we need to change the wife. The problem is there. Even though actually when they go with science, it's the father the father is the one who is making the child, the boy or the girl. That when they look at the egg, all of them are girls. From the mother, it's all girls. The father is the one that he gives the extra chromosome to make it the one way or the other. So they would get mad and get rid of their wife. Oh my God, this one is only popping out girls. We need to get another one, which we have to get it right. So at this time, they looked at these girls as a liability. Even, the story of Aisha, that she was supposed to marry someone else besides the Prophet. Some people say she did marry. Some people say they just were like namzad, that they were supposed to get married. When Abu Bakr wanted to go to Habasha, and he said, you know what, it's a tough journey. Let me go and give her to the boy that agreed to marry her. And then the enemies of Islam said, we need to punish Abu Bakr. How can we punish him? He has a tribe. We can't actually harm him. So what we'll do is we'll break up the marriage. So then the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he said to Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he can't let his ally, ostensibly his ally, get embarrassed, and then they would say, look, see, this is what happens when someone tries to be ally of the Prophet. Nobody will marry his daughter. So when Abu Bakr, his daughter wasn't able to get married, then Rasulullah married her. So this was, and remember, this is a tribal system. So embarrassing Abu Bakr wouldn't just embarrass Abu Bakr. It would embarrass the whole Bani Taym. All of their relatives and everybody would say, look, there's something wrong with them. And so it would hurt Islam. So to show that Islam is not like this, the Prophet said, I'll take the responsibility of this girl who is not able to get married. And then she moved with him when he went to the Medina, this young lady. So this was to show the value of the women, that the Prophet wanted to change the culture of the people to go from being one which is not having value to women to being one which is saying that in religiosity and in humanity, that the women have the same right as men. Not in the individual. When you look at the Huquq al-Mar'a and the Huquq Rijal, it's not the same. Maybe there's some rights that the men have that the women don't have, some duties that the men have that the women don't have, and the other way. Allah gives them the rights and the duties that they deserve. So, for instance, that men have to go and fight in the wars. One time they said that the sisters that came to the Prophet, they said, you're saying all of these blessings that the men, they go and they do this and they go and do that and they give in sadaqah and they do this, and we don't have money because our husbands have the money, so we can't do that. We can't go and fight in the wars. We stay at the house. So what about us? How can we be, get our right? We want to go to paradise too. So then the Prophet said, no, whoever does these things, these duties of the woman, her reward is the reward of the guy who is doing the jihad in the battlefield. The same thing. If a woman, she dies in childbirth, it's the same as a person who dies in the battlefield. So the Prophet is looking at, and Allah is looking at, no, because the thing is, it's in the niyat, it's in the qasd of the person. That what was she trying to get out of this? Was she being obedient to her Lord? And when we looked at these two examples that we had, which is the example of the wife of Pharaoh, what did she do? Many people don't even know what her name is. Was this Imrat Fir'aun? What actually was her name? Sometimes you do some research and read a lot of books, you can figure it out. But sometimes people don't know. What did she do? Did she conquer some country? Did she take many prisoners? Did she write some huge book? Did she have a huge standing? No, what did she do? What did Allah think that she did that was so amazing? There were two shepherds. First of all, she raised and saved Musa alayhi salam. But then you could say, well, maybe she did that just out of this, natural inclination towards motherhood. She couldn't have a child, and now she had a child, and so she's like no. The real test came when now this son that she raised is coming back and he's standing up against the tyrant of the time. This is the most powerful government at the time. You know how now, like, everybody wants to be white, and then everybody wanted to be Egyptian or brown or whatever color they were, because that was how we are. You see what that guy, they're winning, everybody wants to be on the team that's winning. They had so much money, they had huge armies, they had a huge population. At this time they were powerful. The kingdoms were smaller at this time, but they controlled all of Africa, they controlled up into the Middle East. Everyone had to come to them and, with hat in hand when nobody had food, but they had food because they had the big river. So they were completely arrogant. He is like, that Ana Rabbukum al-A'la. This is his claim, that I am the Lord of the world. This is how arrogant they had everything. This is before Trump. He thought that he could do whatever to anybody. And she rejected all of that to go with some guys with sheep and a stick for Allah. All of the castles, you see the castles and things of Fir'aun are still there. Meaning, just to show you how powerful the buildings. And remember, at that time, like, you're some villager coming from nowhere, and you come and you see these giant pyramids and, the Sphinx and all of these things. They're like, it was believable. Maybe he really is. She rejected all of that and said, oh my Lord, give me a house in paradise. He said, what? You're going to reject me? I'm going to cut your hands and feet on each side. Tie you to a tree and use you as an example. She said, no, I don't care. What's with Allah is better than everything in the world. And Allah likes that example for all of us. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then we had the example of Hazrat Mary. That at the time of corruption, at a time where people were losing their way, at a time where the religion was getting confused and twisted because it was at the end of their time of their prophets. Their prophets had started to not come. They had these corrupt ulama taking their scriptures and bending it to make it say whatever they wanted it to say. When the prophet would come and try to correct it, they would kill the prophet. This is what the time was. Not that different than now. The Mary came and was a pure example of how Allah wanted people to behave. That she was abida, she was zahida, she was alima, she was knowledgeable, she abstained from the world, she abstained from all these. The supposed ulama of their time were indulgent in the world. They were taking their masajid and using it as a bank. They said everybody has to be closed because it's the Sabbath. It's the Saturday. That was basically their Jum'ah. They said everything has to be closed. Nobody can do anything. If you want to do any business, it's haram. You want to even light a fire? No, it's haram. You want to cook for your family? No, it's haram. The only thing that can be open is the masjid. You can come, you can do ibadat, that's it. Nothing else you can do. Okay, mashallah. Everybody started doing it. They said, but we can, because we're in the masjid, we can do money changing business in the masjid on Saturday. They're forcing everybody else to do ta'til of their life. Turn their life off. Everybody has to do nothing except ibadah. They're over there doing business in the masjid, charging riba, doing all kind of corruption in the masjid. And they're like, no, it's okay for us. Why? MashaAllah, because we are the ulama. We are doing this for fi sabilillah. Being completely corrupt. At this time, Hazrat Maria was not involved with all that. And she was believing in the prophets. And she was supporting the prophets. And she was supporting the Wali al-Amr of that time. Even when it was her own son. For this, Allah is like she's an example for the whole entire world. Please give us salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So we get to this, what we wanted to talk about here today. We have a very interesting, of course, all of the ayat of the Quran are very interesting. And it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قال الله تعالى ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا عليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة وإن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. So Allah says, and from His signs is He created from yourselves spouses that you can have peace with them. And He put between you affection and mercy. And this is a sign for the people who think. And we have another ayah which we're going to go through. وَآشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ فَإِنْ كَرِهْتُمُوهُنَّ فَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَجَعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. And live with them with kindness. And if you hate them, then perhaps you hate a thing which Allah has put lots of good in it. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. First, we're going to look at this ayah which we had at first, which is that, and from the signs are that Allah created for you spouses from yourselves, and that you should live with them, that you might live with them in peace. And He has put mercy and love between you, and this is one of the signs for the people who give thought. Now first we look at it from the zahir of it. One of the things about human beings is that human beings are social creatures. We are not, some of the animals, the males and the females live separately. The males are over there, the females are over there. They come together maybe one time a year to continue the species, and then the males go back and the females go their way. Allah did not do this with us. When you look on the scientific thing, from the not scientific, how does it go? The anthropological. When they study these skeletons and things like that, how did this creature come about? The human beings, the ways of their development is that both the father and the mother are involved with the raising of the children. Them working as a team is what gets them above and beyond into this next level of intelligence. So when they look at the skeletons and things like that to try to see which one is the skeleton of a human, which one is a skeleton of the other, they look for certain signs. The human beings hunt, right? They hunt other animals. And they work as a team because the women don't hunt. The women would stay near their camp and keep the children, and the men would go and hunt animals and come back. Every now and again you have some anthropologist. He says, we found one woman who was in the past who hunted one squirrel, and mashallah, all of your claim is false. No, that's not how it goes. As a species, the men hunt and the women mostly stay close and take care of the children. Now this is working as a team. Because of the extra food that they're able to get and feed their children, they're able to make advances in intellect. Because if they don't do this, the animals, like sheep or something like that, they're not that smart. They just eat grass and 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 they never have, because the human brain takes huge amounts of energy. So it has to be that you're getting this from something which is like protein, which is an animal, and bringing it back for the children to eat. If you don't do that, the development won't happen. The other thing is that if the mother is not involved, like we said, some of the animals, they get together, they have the baby, this one goes this way, that one goes that way, the baby goes and does its own thing. If the mother is not involved, also, the human beings will not develop. They, of course, I don't know how they were doing all these experiments, but they said that they had this experiment in Russia or Poland or one of these places. They had a bunch of orphans. And they also had women who did not develop properly. So they had other mental issues. And one group of the orphans, they had the nurse would just come, fill the bottle, gives them what they need, and leave. So the baby would be in his little crib. He would drink his bottle. So he would have food. She would, give him the food, but she wouldn't spend any time with him. So he was just sitting. But he had what he needed as far as food, blanket, this, that, and the other. But he didn't have any social interaction with his mother. The other group, someone was like, you know what? These women are miskeen. Give them the little baby to play with. And the baby will kind of have somebody to interact with. They gave that other group to the women. Because of these women playing with them, having fun with them, teaching them what little they know. This isn't even like, the sisters we have here who are knowledgeable and studied and this and that and committed. No, this is just off of instinct. They had mental development. The ones that they gave and they had that motherly interaction, these children all grew up to be normal people. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, engine chiefs, everything. The ones that they just left them and gave them the physical needs, but not that love, those ones, all of them, what's his name? Their intelligence did not develop. They did not develop as human beings. They were criminals and killed themselves or have mental issues and things like that because of that lack of that motherhood. This is what he meant when Allah says this is a sign for those who think. There's always you can go through these ayats and it's like 1,001 things that, oh wow, I've never thought about it that way. I've never thought about it this way. This is just one issue, meaning that the human race won't develop unless it has this father and this mother. That unless that happens, that interaction of the father doing the protection and bringing the sustenance and this type of thing while the mother is able to raise them. If you try to do it the other way, you just, we'll just let the babies go and fend for themselves. It won't be humans. It won't be able to take those next steps as far as the advancement of reason and intelligence to know Allah. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Another thing is that it says that they can have peace together. So the natural order of things when the husband and wife are together is that there's a degree of peace and safety and calmness. And in other verses, it says that they are labas for each other. One of the things which we say is that in Arabic, they have the word labas, which is clothing. Another one is labus, which is armor. When you look at armor, I used to be into knights and armor and all this type of stuff. And one of the things about armor is it actually restricts your movement. Like if you give a person a suit of armor, he can't run and climb and things like that the same way because the armor is holding him down. It's heavy, things like that. But however, one of the things is it protects him. So any attacks or anything like that, yes, it's a little bit of a burden. But the overall protection that he gets from it is a blessing. that now he can go into warfare and come back successfully because of this armor that he has on. It's similar to how the husband and the wife, how do they protect each other? To a great degree, it's the other way around, not from the things coming in. They protect each other from themselves. Their own bad instincts and the things that they will go to, they don't because of the husband or because of the wife. The fact that they have someone to answer to, and also the fact that their needs are being met in a halal fashion, means that they do not have to go towards the haram things that would be a meeting of their needs. So this is one of the blessings of it. And that there is a certain amount of peace and calmness that when you see that, if you ever see these college towns, the kids are running around doing this, that, and the other. Why? Everybody's single. When they get married, they settle, as we say in English, when are you going to settle down? Meaning what? He's going to be home. He's not going to do wild things. He's not going to do dangerous things. She's not going to stirring things up. Why? Because of this sakina that there's there. But what's also interesting is that it said, Ja'ala bainakum mawadda. And I asked my teacher, because this is because of this ayat, then one that I read the second, is also it says that it puts between you mawadda, and I always interpret mawadda meaning love, right? But then in the next ayat it says, but what if you hate them? But when Allah uses the word ja'ala, it's something that you can't change. Like Allah is the one who puts the imam over you, right? Can we change it? No. Allah said that Imam Ali is the imam. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I can throw a fit. I can get mad. I can do this, that, or the other. It is what it is. Allah is the one who decree. So Allah said that He's the one who put mawadda. So I said, well, what's mawadda if it's not hub? Because sometimes Allah says, sometimes you don't like your wife. You're very angry. She's not acting right. Or your husband, he's not acting right. He's not doing what he's supposed to. So how is there mawadda? How is there this? There's a certain amount of automatic allegiance, because that's what we have with Imam. Yes, juz minha, part of it is actual love and affection from the heart. Another part is allegiance. Sometimes the Imam might ask you to do something that you might get angry about and not like, but you still have to do it. Sometimes we, in the position of imamat, because sometimes we're in the position of, for our family or for our community, in the position of the wali al-amr. You have small children, you're in the position of the wali al-amr. Allah put that. Can they say, no, I don't want this father, I want a different father? No, Allah is the one who put that father there for you. Sometimes you have your family and you're making a decision as the family. You're giving a halal order as the family. This is what I think we should do. Can anybody argue with it? No. That's the position in the family. You're making a decision as the head of the household. A person might dislike that, but that allegiance is still there and they still have to do it, even if they dislike it. Sometimes it happens. I always start small and work your way up. Sometimes you have your father to the children. You have the wilayat of the husband over the wife. He's running the affairs of that family, making the last decision. You have in the case, sometimes you have a local alim. He's making the decisions inside of the little masjid. Sometimes you have marjai taqleed. Sometimes you have the wali al-faqih. And then of course, with the wilayat mutlaq, it's the imam. He can ask you to do anything and you have to accept it. It's very interesting. I was talking to some brothers earlier, and even though we have to accept the commands of the imams and without question, the imams encourage their followers to ask the question. The imams would say, you have to do this. And then the followers were like, Rasi wa aini, Yabna Rasulullah. On my eyes, I remember we thought that was the funniest expression. The Arabs would say, ala aini. And the Imam would say, no, ask me where I got it from. And so then he would say, okay, where did you get it from? And he would say, this ayat or this hadith or this, that, and the other. So, meaning even in the position of the wali al-amr, you should have dalil and explanation for what you're doing. Not just, no, this is what it is. Doesn't mean that, no, we're going to insubordinate them, but he should be able to come up with a reasonable explanation for what he's doing. Now, but this allegiance is something else. This leaning towards each other and this mercy towards each other is automatic, that even if you don't want to do it, you do it. What's the proof? Sometimes the police, they used to go to these couples, they were fighting with each other. The wife is fighting with the husband is fighting with the wife. Whenever they want to grab one of them, they learn the lesson because of how sensitive it is. Whenever the police go to grab the one who is attacking the other one will turn around and now fight the police to defend their husband or defend their wife. Why? Because it's part of their nature is to, this is my husband, this is my wife. I don't want to see them harmed by someone. They were just fighting them 5 minutes ago, but they didn't want to see anything happen to them. And so we need to, rather than fight against this, we need to appreciate that that's there. And that Allah is counting this as a huge blessing for us. That there is a natural inclination, whether we like it or we don't like it, towards this allegiance and this protection of the husband and the wife to each other. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And then it says, and live with them. In this ayah is telling from the man to the woman, but it goes both ways, which is, and live with them in goodness and kindness. And if you hate them, it says, then perhaps you hate something which Allah has put a lot of good in it. It's very interesting. Because sometimes they get mad at each other. This person, he's not doing anything. This wife is, we used to call it the ball and chain. Because you wanted to go and you wanted to have your fun and you wanted to play and you hang out with your boys and this, that, and the other. But because you have the wife and the kids, you can't do all of that fun that you used to have. Right? Or from the woman's side, he's not doing all what he's supposed to do. I thought very interesting, which is about this. One of the sifat, one of the very interesting things that I saw, which was similar between Hazrat Hajar, the mother of Ismail, Hazrat Khadija, and Hazrat Fatima, which is one of the things they did was they gave up the entire world for the wali of the time, for their husband. Hajar is from Egypt. This was the wealthiest, most powerful country in the world. She gave all of that up to be with Prophet Ibrahim. Even to go and be in the desert and this, that, and the other to defend the wilayat and the maqam of the Prophet at that time. Hazrat Khadija, she was famously one of the richest women in the richest woman in the Quraysh, and maybe one of the richest people in that tribe. She gave up all of that wealth and everything to the Prophet. Normally it's the opposite. The temptation, if people go by their fitrah, right, is that as soon as I have more money than him, then I think I'm better. That's the temptation. That's the fitrah. But to be able to fight through that nature and say, no, what's with Allah is better. The rules of Allah are better. This is one of the things I always point out to people, that because of the khalq, just the tabiyat of khalq. Sometimes you have something which is good about you, but it's not necessarily because you're a good person. It's a good trait. It's a blessed trait. But sometimes we don't appreciate it because it happens so automatically. And what I mean by this is, we have the generosity that men typically have towards their wife is not really appreciated because it's so automatic. That a typical man, not some mu'min guy who's mujahid fi sabilillah and this, that, and the other. You go down the street, he'll give up 90%, 80% of his wealth to his wife. and the kids and not think about it. But it takes a mujahid, fi sabilillah, determined woman to do the reverse. It happens so automatically. It's like the sun coming up. We don't appreciate this huge blessing that Allah gave us. They have a very interesting hadith which kind of goes along with this. That Allah is talking about these two different jihads. That this is one from Imam Sadiq and the next was from Imam Ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, Al-Kadul Ayali Kal Mujahid fi Sabilillah. That the person who is struggling and working and paying for his family is a mujahid in the way of Allah. Meaning you need to appreciate that this person is out there working. Maybe he's digging his little hole and he's selling the little dirt and he's coming back and he doesn't have much. But he did that fi sabilillah, and to appreciate the effort of a mu'min. And then we have the other, that the jihadul mar'a husna taba'al. That the jihad of a woman is to be good to her husband. So when we look at the tabi'at, if the person just wants to go with what they want to do, sometimes we get mad at our wife because, 90% of the time she's doing what we want, but 10% of the time she gives us some attitude. We're like, oh my God, don't you know this hadith? She did jihad 90% of the time. She succumbed to temptation 10% of the time. We're like, we need to trade out. No, we have to appreciate that. She's trying her best, or he's trying his best. I used the example. I said, it's very interesting that it's because of the label. We give the credit. If someone else does it without the label of husband or without the label of wife, we give them so much credit. If the wife does it, it doesn't mean anything. What is an example? If you had a woman, right, and her husband died, somehow she has woman, children, her husband dies. Some other guy says, you know what, the guy works sometimes, doesn't work sometimes, one of these people. We all know somebody like this. Sometimes he works, sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he's woman, sometimes he's not. This person decides that he says, yeah, I have a beat up old shack in the back. You can use that and you can stay there with your kids. And you know what? Because I'm a nice guy, I'm going to give you, 20% of my income. I'll just give that to you, just fi sabilillah. And you know what? If you want to go and you want to work or do something to try to improve yourself, go to college, I'll take care of the kids because, I work sometimes and I don't. She would be like, this is the greatest person ever. MashaAllah, I was out there in the desert. This person decided that I could stay at his beat up garage or whatever like that. And if he didn't do it, I would be in the cold. I wouldn't have a place to stay. He also babysit the kids, Alhamdulillah, sometimes in moments, sometimes he not, but he makes a little jihad in that. And he also said, yeah, 20% of my money, I'll give to you. And this guy, the husband gives 80%. They're like, yeah. Boom. This is how we are. The same people we give for our brothers. Some woman at work gives them 10% attention. You're like, mashallah, I think I should marry her. The wife gives you 90%. I don't know. 10% of the time, what is she doing? Scrolling on the phone too much? We immediately become ungrateful. Now we need to appreciate this mercy and this love and this blessing that Allah has given us. And I use this as example, use two things from the Ahlul Bayt to show this example. One of them is when Amir al-Mu'mineen went out, one day he's working, right? He comes back with what? A loaf of bread. Not all this money, not all this, that. Not even the loaf of bread. He comes back with wheat, right? He didn't even give her the loaf of bread. He didn't even go to the noon fa'i and buy the bread. He just comes back with the pure wheat. MashaAllah, Fatima appreciates that wheat that he comes back with. Fatima makes that wheat into bread. Then who comes? The miskeen and the yatim and the asira. And Allah appreciates that family gave 3 loaves of bread fi sabilillah. What would any of us give for the wheat that Amir al-Mu'mineen had, that he earned with his own money? What would we give for that? Dunya and everything in it to get 1 bag of wheat from Amir al-Mu'mineen. What would we give for 1 loaf of bread from Fatima Zahra salamu alayha? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We have to appreciate each other's efforts. Yes, we have to do jihad. It's jihad. We have to do and try and struggle and advance. But we also have to appreciate the jihad of the other party. The other example is when we read Hadith al-Kisa, we see how much love and mawadda and how they introduce each other. They're not just like Joe and Mike and Steve and no, it's like Sahib al-Liwayi. He's like, Imam Ali, you're the one who holds my flag, and Fatima, you give the people the water and Qawsar. And whenever Fatima addresses her father, she's like, Ya Rasulullah, meaning with full titles and appreciation for all the barakat and the blessing. Do we do this? So, mashallah, we have some person who's like mu'min and mujahid, and he's trying to keep his wealth in a halal fashion, and we have wives who keep themselves pure, and we have this and we have that, and we don't appreciate this huge blessing that we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, we wanted to go a little bit and now remember the tragedy of Fatima and the people who didn't appreciate the blessing that they had, that they were in the presence of a person of Jannah. We look first at the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That when Prophet Muhammad was sick, he, just to show you what type of person, there's so many examples that you could use, that as soon as he became weak, then the people they realized that it's the last time, they started to get disobedient. Some of the people started to give him a hard time. Some of the people started to, the snide remarks that they used to hide, they started to come out. One example of just what type of mu'min person the Prophet was that when he realized he was going to die, he called all of his soldiers and all of the men. He said, is there any person who I owe anything from, that I've harmed, that wants to get that back, that I owe some debt to, that I said something mean to? And one of the soldiers said, yes, one time when you lined up the soldiers for the battle, you had a stick in your hand and you poked me in the stomach and it hurt. I want revenge. The Prophet said, oh yes, okay, of course. See how every single point he's trying to make sure that he's taken care of. He lifted up his shirt and gave the guy the stick to hit him. And he's like shaking, like he was like barely able to stand. The man, of course, he didn't do that. He went and he grabbed the Prophet and he kissed his stomach and said, thank you. But at the same time, other people were plotting and planning against the Prophet. And the Fatima Zahra had to see all of this going on. They said that when the Prophet was slowly but surely dying, the Prophet whispered something to her and she started crying. And then the Prophet whispered something else to her and she started laughing. After the Prophet's death, they said, what did he say? He said that I'm going to die and you are going to be the first one from my family to follow me. After the death of the Prophet, the first musibat was that the people went and started trying to get power instead of taking care of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said about Fatima Zahra that she's Abiha. That one thing that a mother sees that hurts her more than anything is for somehow her child to be disrespected. And to see after all of that the Prophet gets neglected, that would just crush you. Then they, on top of that, they now did the zulm to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and they deprived him of his rights. He said, no, we're not going to let you have your rights. And they took Fadak from her. They took everything that she had because they knew that she would give it to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Then when she went to try to ask for her right back, basically they called her a liar. That it was in her hand. The most truthful person in the world, and you're like, no, where's your evidence? And they knew that the Prophet loved her more than anything. He would just give it to her if she even just thought it was hers. And so finally they felt so embarrassed after she proved that it's hers. They gave it to her. And she is on the way back. They said, what are you doing? She's going to give this to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He's going to raise the people against us. They ripped it out of her hands and slapped. Fatima Zahra Salamu alayha went one by one to the people's houses, trying to get people to rally to the support of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And they would say, yes, we're going to come. And Amir al-Mu'mineen was like, okay, meet me tomorrow. We're going to come to the masjid and we're going to say, uphold the rights, do what the Prophet said do. And each time she would have to see Amir al-Mu'mineen show up and be alone. She would just sit in her house and cry that she was abandoned. Finally, they came to her house. They were like, why are you hiding these people in your house? They need to make bay'ah to the Khalifa. And she would argue with them. Each time she would argue with them, they would feel bad. So they said, you know what? We've got to get them out of the house. We can't let them stay there stirring up trouble. So they got a group of men. They went outside the house of Fatima. And they put wood against the house of Fatima's door. I remember I couldn't believe the story when I first got told the story. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this can't be true. I was like, this has to be some sort of Shia story. But then I went and I got the Sunni books. And no, that was right there. No. They set the door on fire to burn the people alive. And Fatima came to the door and was like, leave away from the door of my house. And they hit the door of the house and slammed it into Fatima. And she screamed, ah, my father. And they dragged out Amir al-Mu'mineen to kill Amir al-Mu'mineen. And she threw herself over him. It was like, you have to kill me first. Fatima knew sadness her whole life. Her whole life. From the time she's a baby, people were calling her father a liar and denying him and throwing trash on him. They go to another city and they're attacking the city just to kill her father. Finally, things get better and then they poison her father. سيعلم الذين ينكرون صلي على محمد وعلى محمد صلي على محمد وعلى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد يا سيد يا سيد يا سيد يا سيد
يا زهرة يا فاطمة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا حسين يا حسين يا زهرة يا زهرة When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When the night fell on desert camping, a lonely voice was heard in mourning. Then she looked and saw someone approaching, one who would join her in her grieving. She had come to see her progeny and what had become of their destiny. But she could not let her to go closer. She did not want her to really see. I do not want you to go further. You will only see pain and horror. Body with no head, 72 dead. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Before you were born, my loving daughter, I was shown this by your grandfather. He told me what was to be for my son and how it would be a tragedy. My brother told me of this day as well. I knew what was to become of me. But even then I could not stand witness when I saw Shimra walking to him. My mother, you cannot bear to see what they did to his broken body. Arrows in his heart, liver ripped apart. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. When Fatima came to Karbala, Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Go back, oh mother, they killed my brother. Zainab said, do not look, Ya Zahra. Ya Zahra. Ya Zahra.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام على رسول الله خير خلق الله البشير النذير السراج المنير ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على علي أمير المؤمنين. السلام على فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام على الحسن والحسين سبطي نبي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد